Mary lived alone in a creaky old house at the edge of town, her only comfort being her love of knitting. She spent hours with her needles, crafting intricate scarves, hats, and sweaters that were too beautiful to sell. Her pieces always had a strange allure. Anyone who wore them claimed they felt unnervingly warm, as though something alive was wrapped around them. One evening, Mary found an old, dusty trunk in her attic. Inside was a set of knitting needles made of polished black wood and a tangle of crimson yarn. The needles were unusually cold, and the yarn seemed to shimmer faintly under the dim light. Ignoring her unease, Mary decided to use them to knit a shawl. The moment the needles clicked together, an icy draft swept through the house. Shadows flickered on the walls, but Mary brushed it off as her imagination. She knitted late into the night, unable to stop, the crimson yarn sliding unnaturally fast through her fingers. When the shawl was finally done, she draped it over her shoulders and felt a sudden, suffocating warmth. The edges of the shawl tightened against her throat. Panicking, she ripped it off and threw it to the floor. The shawl moved. It writhed like a living thing, slithering toward her. Mary stumbled back as the crimson yarn began unraveling itself, twisting into strange shapes. Shapes that looked like hands. Skeletal, clawed hands. "You shouldn't have used them," a guttural voice whispered from nowhere and everywhere at once. Mary fled the house, leaving the cursed shawl behind. But the needles and yarn weren't finished with her. The next morning, her neighbor found her in her garden, tangled in a web of crimson yarn. Her face was frozen in a look of terror, and her hands were locked in a knitting motion, though she held no needles. The house was boarded up, but locals say they sometimes see a faint red glow in the attic window. And if you stand outside, you can hear the soft, rhythmic click, click, click of needles at work.